All right, I got some goodies here. Got the Warbreaker box from the year of Sanderson. I already opened it on my TikTok, so check it out there if you want to see all of its goodies. But we do have something that we need to add to the shelf. Oh, baby. Can you see that? Can you read that? Oh, my goodness. Nightblood letter opener. Oh, yeah. We're going to have some fun with this opening letters, I guess.
You want to be very, very careful now.
Anyways, put that here for now. And another goodie I just put this together. Got this frame from Amazon. But yeah, we got all the little postcards from the Cosmere box. So yeah, I don't know where to put this. I'm thinking above the door, but I don't know. I might just put it in my room for now because I don't see a great spot in this small space I got going on here. But let me know if you think it would look good up there. We also got these cool little these tin cases in the Warbreaker box with some notable characters on here that I won't say for spoiler reasons, but I think you guys all know who these people are supposed to be. And they do have mints in them. I've been told on TikTok that they are breath mints. Get it? Because breads. Anyways, on with the video. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Sandbox. Today I'll be reviewing yet another Cosmere book by Brandon Sanderson. I asked you guys last month which book you'd like to see me review here, and you guys voted Warbreaker with an astounding 4 votes. So, a lot of demand for this one. But in all seriousness, I've been meaning to review Warbreaker for some time now, as after this, I think all I have left in the Cosmere is the first 3 Stormlight books, but we'll be doing something a little bit different for those in a few months. Warbreaker was a very interesting read for me in my Cosmere journey. I actually read it first about 5 years ago after I had read The Way of Kings and quickly forgot like 90% of it. You know, I'd read The Way of Kings, I'd started with the Stormlight Archive, and everyone said that you have to read Warbreaker before you move on to Words of Radiance, and suffice it to say, it felt like homework.
Not a great plan.
At the time, it was a distraction from the Stormlight Archive. It was a detraction from my overall reading enjoyment with the Cosmere. So first and foremost, if you are thinking about starting your Cosmere journey, or if you are in the early parts of it already, let me dispel a common misconception for you. You do not need to hop between book series in the Cosmere. Just pick whichever series fancies you most, pick whichever one sounds the most interesting, and stick with it. Yes, there will be connections that you don't understand, but you're bound to miss a lot of them on your first read through anyway, so just enjoy. The reread is where you're going to pick up all of those Easter eggs, all of that foreshadowing, those Cosmere shenanigans. So just focus on enjoying whatever you're reading and trying to understand and soak up as much of it as you can on your first read through. That said, if you really don't want to reread a book, which on one hand, I get it, but on the other, this is the Cosmere, I can almost promise you that you're going to want to reread something at some point, then just stick with the release order. Yes, you're going to be hopping between series more than you'd probably like to, but that's how Sanderson wrote it, and that's probably the best way to catch everything the first time through. So anyways, all this to say, I felt like Warbreaker was the most deserving Cosmere book for a reread at this point in time, as I am a lot more Cosmere aware myself now. And so today, I'll be sharing my spoiler-free thoughts on whether I think it lives up to the hype and how strong it stands as a standalone fantasy set within the Cosmere. So with that said, let's dive on in. And you know the drill, starting off with the writing component, Warbreaker is fairly solid. For me, it is average Brandon Sanderson. It's got a few things that don't quite work, but it also has some passages that will absolutely stick with you. The tone oftentimes will alternate from witty and lighthearted to dark and mysterious at the flip of a switch, but it completely works thanks to the characters that Sanderson has established. And overall, the style of writing will feel very familiar to fans of the Cosmere. However, with the writing comes both one of the best aspects of this book, but also probably one of the worst. The themes going on within this book are nothing short of extraordinary. Aside from unique twists on themes like heroism, resurrection, and sacrifice, this book plays with reversals from Sanderson's earlier works, mainly Mistborn: The Final Empire and Elantris, as he diverts expectations and experiments with story elements that he's used before, but this time going in complete opposite directions. If you've read Warbreaker before and plan on doing a reread soon, you absolutely must check out Sanderson's annotations after you read each chapter, as they provide a ton of fun insights and behind-the-scenes tidbits, especially on this theme of reversals. If anything, it will give you more appreciation for the novel. You can find them on Sanderson's website or on Coppermind, the best fan-driven wiki that even Sanderson himself uses from time to time.
The Coppermind is a little easier to get to than my own wiki, so oftentimes where I just go to the Coppermind instead of my wiki for easy answers. It's like, oh, well, how do I spell this person's name? Oh, the Coppermind will have it. So you can know that I'm using the Coppermind as reference.
However, while it is an extraordinarily thematic read, the pacing is what makes this book struggle the most. And I'll say that after having read Sanderson's annotations, it does make more sense now. It adds some light to the decisions that Sanderson had to make, but even Sanderson himself will agree that the pacing of this book does suffer from those decisions.
That sucks, man.
Yep.
It is slow to get moving as he sets the stage and incorporates mysteries that need to be unraveled, but I will say that once you come across a mystery that grabs you, and there are plenty of chances for that here, it is certainly captivating through the final pages. And similarly, the more viewpoint characters that you can latch onto early on, the more enjoyment you will have with this book. But what is the story actually about? Well, there are a few major plot lines that take place concurrently. On one end, you have an unprepared princess, Ciri, who is thrown into the political lion's den as she is sent to marry the dreaded God King, while her sister, Vivenna, follows in pursuit to save not only her, but their entire kingdom.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
On the other end, we have a very mysterious character, Vasher, with unknown motivations, who carries a magic black sword and who uses the magic system of this world flawlessly. And then somewhere in the middle, we have probably the most beloved main character, Lightsong the Bold, who is seen as a god in this realm by everyone but himself. And I think it's perfectly normal to connect with half of these viewpoints and their respective plot lines right off the bat, while being more hesitant on the other half. For me, I remember being fascinated with Vasher and Lightsong on my first read-through, while being a bit more hesitant on the sisters. Ciri's plot definitely takes a bit to get interesting, however, she is the more compelling and relatable sister at the start, character-wise. And Vivenna has a very slow story until she meets some mercenaries, and then eventually meets up with Vasher. And on reread, I do think Vivenna is more interesting for spoiler reasons that I won't go into, but she is still the weakest viewpoint character as much as I do love her. Now, a quick sidebar, I will say that compared to Elantris, Warbreaker feels a bit weaker to me story-wise.
You know, that's just like your opinion, man.
There are some logical jumps made, things that aren't fully fleshed out, even with the read-along annotations adding more context to the subtext. And there's even a bit of a deus ex machina in the rather rushed ending that Sanderson has fully copped to, yet at the same time, it still kind of works, it still feels earned. Again, this could 100% just be personal preference or due to my own perspective. I don't know any two people who have read this book the same exact way. We all take away different lessons and connect to different characters, but as of right now, that's just how I feel about these two Cosmere standalones. That said, I think the stakes and action are actually quite comparable between the two. Like with Elantris, the stakes present in Warbreaker definitely lie in your love for the characters. The falling of two kingdoms to us as new readers isn't the most compelling or effective way to present stakes for a first book in a series, but both of these books find ways to make you grab onto a character and want to see them succeed, and then implements barriers ahead of them which add to that lingering and building tension quite nicely. And as for the action, I think both of these books have a single memorable action scene, a true showstopper that stays with you long after you've read, and Warbreakers is very effective, very cool. It makes the book feel like a true epic fantasy that is worthy of being set within the Cosmere. But that's enough about this story. Let's move on to the character component. I feel like I've said quite a lot about them already, but in case you couldn't tell, this is once again where the story shines. All of the struggles, the stakes, the memorable moments of triumph originate from these spectacular characters. And yes, while half of them will take some time to feel invested in, by the end they all do their jobs nicely and you'll be craving more from them. Every hero has a great arc, a unique personality, and unique set of challenges to overcome, and the story they're thrown into is perfectly crafted around them and by them. A true highlight of this book for me was the relationships that Ciri, Vivenna, and Lightsong in particular create. There are some really big moments in this book that revolve around key conversations that simply would not have worked without these characters and their established relationships. Sanderson truly did a fantastic job with them. Now, as for the villains, compared to someone like Hrathen from Elantris or the Lord Ruler from Mistborn, the villains here are true to Warbreaker's main theme of reversals. There are big twists and reveals, and so with that, the mysteries behind the villains make them harder to connect with and fear for the majority of this book. When they do make their appearance, I bought into their motivations and their overall plans, but they just simply didn't have enough time in the spotlight for me to score them any higher. In fact, there's one particular reveal around the 60% mark, and then after that, the villain is made absent for a large chunk of the book. At the end of the day, the twists work, the reveals are fun, these characters are captivating, but the time allotted to each character wasn't what I would have preferred. But that's enough about the characters and their stories. Let's talk a bit about the world of Nalthis, and more specifically, the city of Tettalir. Funnily enough, I started my reread while on vacation in Hawaii, and Sanderson's annotations explained that Tettalir is quite clearly inspired by Hawaii. The beautiful colors, especially from the flowers and trees, and the warm climate definitely helped to paint the picture of Hawaii in my mind while reading, but it also didn't hurt that I was there at the same time. And while we do get some pretty cool glimpses of the city, the story is mainly limited to within the Court of Gods or safe houses scattered across the city. There are gardens with beautiful statues, and we do see scenes in some gritty alleys, but for the most part, the world building feels stunted to these primary locations within Tettalir, which for the record I found to be quite similar to Elantris. But as for the magic system, Nalthis has a really unique one that revolves around breaths and the idea of awakening inanimate objects to perform specific tasks. It is a very cool magic system that, quite frankly, isn't utilized as much as Sanderson usually employs his magic systems, such as in Mistborn or the Stormlight Archive. However, we do get a better understanding of it, especially in terms of Cosmere investiture, than we do in Elantris, so I have it scored higher in this aspect. That said, this book does leave much to be desired. There is still a lot of terrain to cover, both geographically and with the magic system, so I hope we get the sequel sooner than later, which, if you don't know, is currently tentatively called Nightblood. And as for the originality of this world, on top of a Hawaiian-based setting and the unique magic system of awakening, I think breaths are actually a very different idea that is explored in both religious perspectives as well as economical ones throughout this book. Breaths are a currency, but they're also sort of seen as part of your very soul. It makes for very specific and unique circumstances that Sanderson does not shy away from, and I really enjoy that aspect of this book and this world. And speaking of the culture, there are a few different ones that are present within this book, and they all get at least some development throughout the story. Again, there is still much left to be explored. The people of Tetalira get a lot more of the spotlight than others, but the cultures, the histories, the religions are all used to further the storylines and create these tense situations for our characters. Before I share my final thoughts, do me a quick favor and hit that like button if you are enjoying this video. I hate asking y'all to do this, but it really does help the video and the channel with their fight against the YouTube algorithm, so I would really appreciate it. And while you're down there, let me know, where does Warbreaker currently sit in your Cosmere ranking? Overall, I think this book has a lot going for it. Sanderson does some of his best character work, slow and limited though it may be, and he has created a very unique world that is utilized in more ways than one. His writing is beautiful at times, though for the most part I did find it to be standard Sanderson, and the real crippling aspect of this novel is its slow pace and slower utilization of the magic system, which Sanderson is probably best known for. There are clear reasons why this is some Cosmere fans' favorite, but for me, I think it's more middle of the pack and probably even below Elantris in terms of overall satisfaction. I am grateful for this novel and I am excited for the sequel, but as of right now, Warbreaker will receive a solid 8 out of 10 from me. I hope you all enjoyed this review, and once again, you can let me know by hitting that like button, sharing this with a friend, and or leaving a comment down below. It's entirely up to you. And also, while you're here, consider subscribing. I have reviews for almost every other Cosmere novel, including some deep dives, ranking videos, heck, even some comedy skits, and you can check those all out using this playlist right up there. And I am also planning on doing an entire tier list ranking on every Cosmere work. I'm talking short stories, novellas, even graphic novels, so be on the lookout for that within the coming months. If you disagreed with my review today, let me know why down in the comments below. Again, these are just my thoughts and a reflection of my overall reading experiences with Warbreaker, but I would love to be persuaded to enjoy this one more for when I inevitably pick it up for a third time. But as for now, that's it from me. Thank you all so much for tuning in and sticking around. I will see you all next time.